picture a time of solution. See the possibility.
Hi, welcome everybody. I am Carey Davidson, author of The Five Archetypes, an ancient technology for problem solving. This channel is about healing relationships. And today we are with Todd, who is a primary earth. And Todd is going to share a romantic relationship challenge. And welcome, Todd. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Um, yeah. I mean, I have trouble setting boundaries, not only in like romantic situations and partners, but also with my children, I should add, and then not feeling guilty afterwards and understanding that it's just an okay thing to do. And it helps to set boundaries. It's a better way to live. It's just hard for me.
What I love about this is that I think this is a topic that can help a lot of people because I think many of us struggle with that. And so, could you give me an example of a time when you felt like you needed to set a boundary about something and felt bad about it?
Well, I can think of a quick one with my kids. Like my son comes to visit on the weekends and I'll ask him at the beginning of the week, like if he's coming and if he's bringing someone and he just won't, I'd like to set a boundary like, well, if I don't know by a certain day, then, you know, or something, some kind of boundary, and I just leave it open. And then I feel like, then I get resentful, like, oh, he shows up and without telling me. And then I feel like, ugh, I didn't set a boundary. My needs aren't being met. Other people who might be here, it's not fair to them. Just the kind of chaos thing that ensues because I don't put my foot down.
So, thinking about your kids and boundaries, was there ever a time with your relationship with them where you felt that easy flow of just being able to say what you needed and have it happen, and when it doesn't happen, just speak to it and keep going? Was there ever a balance there?
Good question. Um, yeah, I've always struggled with this, even when they were little. I think, because I was a single dad, so I think I overcompensated too, not wanting to be you know, the rigid dad. I wanted to be the easygoing so that, you know, avoid confrontation is another thing I do. Yeah, or when I do set like a consequence for bad behavior, I would cave usually, and then they knew that. Like I was like, you need to clean up your room before we go to the beach, and then they wouldn't, and I'd end up helping them, or not following through with the consequence. So there was issues with that since they were little.
Is there any other realm in your life, in any other relationships where it's easier for you to set boundaries?
Um, Not so much. I mean, even professionally, like with my crew and stuff, I'm a contractor. I tend to give them a lot of leeway. Yeah, I don't put my foot down very much, and it gets frustrating. And I make excuses for it a lot. Say like, well, I really need them. They're kind of irreplaceable. I have to take them as they come. But that can be really frustrating because you just want to be more professional and have people do what they say they're going to do. So yeah, I'm not good at in pretty much any realm. And yeah, in relationships, I tend to bend a lot, like, to make it work.
When you say when you bend a lot to make it work, what's an example?
Well, with my wife, with like my kids' mom, we moved a lot because that's what she wanted, and I never really put my foot down. And one of the things I remember her saying when we were in couples counseling when we were breaking up is that she wanted someone to stand up to her more, and that was kind of a surprise to me. I thought that, you kind of, if you go along with what someone wants, then things go smoothly. But that's not the truth. And I haven't really learned that lesson yet. I'm still working on it. And yeah, one of the times the therapist said, well, why didn't, when she wanted to move from California and I didn't, and the therapist was like, well, why didn't you say no? And I was like, oh, I had that option. I didn't really think I did. So it's a, it's a tricky thing for me. I'm still working on it.
If we could wave a magic wand and this wasn't a challenge for you when you woke up tomorrow morning,
Mhm.
How would your life be different? How would you feel waking up in the morning?
I'm not really sure how I would, how that would be different. It would be nice not to feel guilty when I do set a boundary and just like, because I know what I want and I know what would be good. And yeah, it's a default setting almost for me now when I, say no to something. But it does feel good, when I do it. But, there's still a twinge like, oh, I probably should have done that for that person. Yeah, it's really bad. Definitely something I need to work on in relationships. Yeah, my last one, she commented upon it all the time. I'm like, oh, you always say yes. It's almost like a joke. And but on the whole, I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I didn't have any resentment about any of the things I did with her. I was fine with doing the things she wanted to do because it was great. It got me out of working all the time, and that felt good. And I really wanted to be in a relationship, so that felt good too. And I don't think there was any times with her. The previous relationship, though, I got a lot of resentment because I felt like I wasn't being reciprocated for all the things I did, which I like doing the things, but when I ask for something back, it's hard for me to ask. And then when it's not reciprocated, then I got resentful. And that's why that relationship didn't work out.
It's very common to have this dynamic when someone's primary is Earth. Would you like me to give you some insight into how this shows up in the archetype structure, but then also some solutions?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay, cool. So you talked a lot about feeling guilty and also kind of overgiving, and then that frustration a little bit that people don't necessarily appreciate the giving. Is that accurate?
Um, I don't need to be appreciated for it, but just when I do ask for something back, I would like it to be reciprocated because it's not easy for me to ask for something. So when I do, it's a big deal. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, so your primary is Earth. Earth's gift to this world is empathy and unity and being the kind of person who came out of the womb knowing how to turn everyone's messes into stuff that works. And there's a drive, there's an almost like natural default drive to be the one in the relationship that is known for doing that and loved for doing that. But like you said, it's not out of a desire to get like quid pro quo. You don't want payback, but there is a modicum of like, and just acknowledge that, hey, I do all this stuff. If I need something, it'd be nice to have you show up for me too.
Mhm, mhm.
So Earth of the five elements is the one that is really, really, really good at relationships. They're the ones that are the hub of connection and celebration and holiday dinners. And they like people to come home and to want to be home. There's this fear when we're so good at relationships that I could potentially be the cause of the disillusion of a relationship. Because when you think about being excellent at someone and being at the pinnacle of the bestness of it, the only place in that perception is down. And there's this belief that since we're so good at this one thing, that if my relationships aren't going well, it must be my fault. And
Mhm.
so there's this kind of um, over focus on not rocking the boat. Does that feel accurate for you?
Oh, yeah, very accurate. Yeah.
So there's this feeling that I should never have to witness conflict in the relationship. And also this belief that I could make sure that happens. And if there's disharmony, I probably created it by not taking care of everything for everyone.
Mhm.
And then I feel guilty for having, in my perception, caused the disharmony. And so in that mindset, there is a resistance to doing activities that might cause people to not want to be in the unit. One of those things is setting boundaries, because boundaries feel mean, because it's saying, no, you can't, rather than, of course, come along.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of the risk of Earth, in setting boundaries. There's two ways of going in and solving this. It requires a little bit of energy on the softening of your own Earth element, and a little bit of energy beefing up the elements that are a little bit lower, so that you have more access to them, and you have more belief in their power to be good. Even though they're not earthy, they kind of they have a different energy that may feel abrasive to some people, and to you. They create the dynamic, that dynamic tension that people actually love and find invigorating in relationships, and draws us all to be better people, because we're pushed just a little bit. There's a little bit of tension,
Mm.
not bad tension.
No, no, when I see people who are good at that, setting boundaries and being very assertive and strong, I really appreciate that. And I find those people to be attractive.
Yeah, so those are those parts of you speaking up, that's, they're saying like, "Hey, I'm here too." Because it's in all of us to use it. So the first bit is to understand and to start tracking the moments when your Earth primary wants to take control and be the only one in the room, when you have all these five parts of you. The way to start noticing that is noticing if you can slow down enough when you're interacting with others, when you're starting to feel the urge to say things like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of that for you. Oh, don't worry, I'll let that go." And think about, like, hold on a minute. Am I making this decision out of fear of loss of connection, of loss of the unit? Or am I making this decision because it really is authentically being made with integrity, that is the next right action in this series of engagements? So slow yourself down enough to start to notice when you're saying yes to maintain the unit and not create a rift in the relationship. Only to exercise the muscle of noticing, not necessarily to change things yet, but to exercise your capacity to notice when it happens, rather than glossing over it and only noticing it when the relationship really starts to feel like abandonment and painful. Because the very early signs of it are those instincts, those natural urges to say yes when it's time to say, like, let me think about it.
Mhm, mhm,
Two things you can do that help you strengthen your capacity to do that. One is do something for yourself every day. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be eating your favorite meal. It could be a self massage on your hands. It could be watching a 90-second, silly cat video. It could be sitting outside and doing nothing but watching the leaves blow in the wind. Something that you do for you, and that's it. But every day to do something. Earth is at risk for over indexing on taking care of everyone else before themselves. So filling yourself up once a day.
mhm,
The second thing is to remember that no is a full sentence. And that, yeah, that one's harder, right?
mhm. Yeah, just to say no, you don't have to explain it or rationalize it or put quotation marks around it or yeah, anything, just no. Full sentence. Yeah.
Yeah. But in order to soften it, you can put, like, guardrails around it and say, that sounds like a really great idea, but let me check my calendar and get back to you tomorrow. So you build in a natural water element. Water is weight. Water is time and space to make sure that I can introspect and to determine, am I making this decision because I want to avoid conflict in the relationship? Or am I making this decision because it really is the right thing to do? And
Mhm,
because it's been an established pattern, because your primary is Earth, it's just how you've engaged since birth, you're going to need that time and space and that quiet ability to reflect on it and really think and go deep and say, hold on a minute, why am I about to say yes to this? So that you can get out in front of it and create the capacity to be more adaptable to these moments. Because we default very quickly into these patterns and habits that are aligned with our primary. And the only way out is to learn how to pause when we're at risk so that we
Mhm.
have time to think and time to reflect and to decide, yeah, is this right? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, be a really good thing for me to do. Just wait, give it some time. I'll get back to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I look at your numbers, your lowest is water and with the second lowest in fire. So doing some activities that strengthen those elements within you will also make it easier for you to access those parts of yourselves when you're stressed out and at risk for defaulting into not setting a boundary. So
Mhm.
water is staying hydrated, getting good sleep, spending time like doing nothing. So doing nothing could be walking in the woods and not listening to a podcast while you're doing it, just noticing the leaves changing colors, noticing what the ground feels like beneath your feet, just being here. And fire is celebration. So I would invite you to celebrate one thing about yourself every day,
Mm.
even if it's a tiny thing. It could be, I made a full stop at that stop sign today. Or I didn't eat that second helping of of chocolate ice cream that I really wanted because I was already full.
Right, right. Yeah, small things.
Yeah, yeah. So let's circle back really quick to the first thing that you talked about, which was setting boundaries with your son. Because I'd
Mhm.
love to talk about putting this into action so that it's not just um, philosophy.
Okay.
Do you have another opportunity coming up to where he's gonna come visit?
No, because I'm going away.
Yeah.
We haven't planned anything. Um, yeah. So like yeah, but in general, like, when he says I may or may not come, and I, want to know, it would be good to have a good system for that.
So here's what I would suggest. Ways to make this work. Getting out in front of it is a wood energy. Wood is the energy that can make earth feel uncomfortable. So it's not your go-to strength within you to think about planning ahead. So now that you know there's a pattern of him maybe not, saying when he's coming or changing his plans, and that it bothers you, getting
Mhm.
out in front of it looks like, for example, hey, I'm gonna need to know what your plans are X number of days in advance, because if you're not gonna come, I'm gonna make other plans. And then have a backup plan. If he cancels at the last minute or wants to come at the last minute, you guys agree on how that's gonna go so that he's not taken by surprise and you're not feeling guilty because he already knew the deal.
Mhm, mhm.
So, plan B could be if you cancel at the last second, you know, um, come up with some sort of, if you cancel at the last second, it's going to stink for me. But, if you want to come at the last second, I may or may not be here and I'm not going to change my plans. Not likely. So that
Mhm.
way you can keep your plans and not feel bad about it. And he already knows how it's going to turn out if he wants to come at the last second.
Mhm.
So there's everyone knows the contingency factor. Like here's what we hope, here's plan A that we hope is going to be amazing, but here's what we do and what we expect from each other in the case that things don't go as planned.
What sounds so easy? It's so logical and easy, but why is it hard for me?
Well, it's hard because Earth doesn't naturally use wood to problem solve.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean you can't. It means that your way of thinking is not necessarily to pull on the wood strategy. You'll first you overuse the earth strategy, which is to over care for everyone else,
Oh,
even
totally. Yeah, like Well, no, just the more people just figure it out so that nobody is very happy, but nobody's really upset and everybody can still come and, we'll squeeze them in and, oh, they might be a little upset because there's so many people here. But I just work up into this whole thing so that I don't have to say no to anybody.
Mhm.
That's what I do. Yeah. Try to please everybody. And I'm not pleased because I didn't include myself in that people to please. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why doing a little bit of self-care every day, you get that out of the way a little bit. So you have a cachet every day of having done some taking care of yourself so that you
Mhm.
don't feel so starved for it and have a reaction when other people aren't showing up for you, which is going to happen sometimes.
Mhm.
And then having the quietness to go ahead and go inside and say, all right, this has become a pattern, a problem. How am I going to come up with a proactive plan that has all these contingency plans in case plan A goes down the drains? And then everyone agrees on it. And
Mhm.
sometimes, SH, you know what happens. And sometimes all the contingency plans don't work, but at least you've cast a wide net and you can probably take care of most potential, and your insides don't feel so out of whack because you're constantly not sure what's going to happen.
Right. Right. And my son is wood.
Wow. So he doesn't like the structure. He doesn't want to be told. He doesn't want that confinement to your wound.
No, no, no. He even goes around him when I like we were at he's I couldn't get him to pin him down to how many people were coming a couple of weeks ago. I was like, we were going surfing, and all of a sudden he put like 6 surfboards in the back of my truck, and I'm like, what are you trying out different boards? Why are you bringing so many different boards? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And then we get there and we're out surfing, and then all these people roll down the beach with all the boards from the back of my car. And I was like, oh, so I guess this is why. I mean, it worked out fine. He has great friends and it was all fine, but it would just be nice to have a little bit more communication about that. And that I do live here too. It's not his house yet.
So that's a relationship that's going to invite you to really tap into your fire energy because fire is the bridge between wood and earth. So over-indexing on earth won't work, and him over-indexing on wood won't work because you're both going to be out in your primaries, which is oppositional. So the only way to come together is through the heart, through fire, through joy, playfulness, ease, relaxation, some sort of kind flexibility and laid backness around it. So do the best you can to come up with contingency plans that are about seeing him, like seeing his needs also. If he feels seen and dignified, he'll soften more towards center too. So kind of coming out and saying, "Hey, I get you are an amazing kid with amazing friends and you love, taking care of them and having them have fun. And let's talk about how in the planning I can be part of that thought process so that
Mm,
we honor each other."
that sounds great. Yeah, I really like that.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Well, Todd, I am so grateful for you. I feel like this conversation will help a lot of people out there who have primary earth and wood children. Thank you.
Mm, you're welcome. Thank you so much.